Daniel had never imagined that a routine shift at the interstellar fashion hub could turn into something that would change his life forever. He was a human among aliens, and in a galaxy where humans were often underestimated. He had grown used to staying in the background. His job was simple: maintain, repair, and troubleshoot the complicated systems that powered the most famous alien fashion shows across the galaxy. Nothing flashy, nothing dangerous, or so he thought. That day, the hub was alive with the excitement of the grandest event of the season. Alien supermodels from dozens of planets had arrived, each one more extravagant than the last. Their shimmering skin, unique features, and flowing garments made them the stars of the show. Daniel worked in the backstage area, surrounded by buzzing equipment, holographic projectors, and racks of floating garments. He preferred this space. The quiet hum of machinery and the predictable work gave him peace. A stark contrast to the chaotic displays on the main stage. He was tightening a failing support beam when a loud crash echoed from the stage. Sparks flew from one of the central holographic projectors, and the entire structure began to sway dangerously. Panic erupted among the crew. Costumes fluttered, hovering platforms shook, and performers screamed. Daniel's heart raced, but he didn't freeze. Years of engineering and problem-solving instincts kicked in. He grabbed a nearby toolkit, ran toward the malfunctioning stage supports, and started working with precise, calculated movements. Every alien around him shouted in confusion, but Daniel remained focused, his hands steady. Among the chaos, a figure appeared who seemed untouched by the panic. She had hair that shimmered like liquid silver and eyes that glowed faintly in the ambient lights. She moved with grace, like a dancer, even in the middle of mayhem. Daniel had seen images of her in magazines and holographic feeds. She was Lyra, the most famous supermodel in the galaxy. Her fame was unmatched, her beauty legendary. Yet here she was, calmly observing him while everyone else around screamed and flailed. Daniel tightened a bolt, adjusted a stabilizer, and finally, the stage groaned but held its ground. The lights flickered back to life. The performers, grateful and shaken, looked at him with awe. Lyra stepped closer, her eyes steadying him with an intensity he had never experienced. Most people would have been starstruck or nervous, but Daniel simply nodded at her, his hands still covered in grease. "Thank you," she said, her voice melodic and clear. "You just saved the show." Daniel wiped his hands on his pants, embarrassed by the attention. "It was just a few adjustments," he replied. "Anyone trained could have done it." Lyra laughed softly, a sound that seemed to echo and linger in the air. "Maybe, but most people would have panicked." "You didn't," he shrugged, trying to downplay it. He wasn't used to being praised, especially not by someone of her stature. But there was something different about her. She wasn't judging him. She wasn't looking down at him as the media often portrayed humans as small, fragile, or insignificant. She was curious. "Do you want to see the rest of the show?" she asked suddenly, tilting her head. From up close, behind the scenes, without anyone noticing, Daniel hesitated. Interacting with a celebrity, especially one like Lyra, was risky. There were rules, cameras, security. Yet her genuine curiosity, the way she looked at him without expectation or assumption, made him nod. "Sure," he said, trying to sound casual. For the next hour, they moved through the backstage corridors. Lyra asked questions about the equipment, the shows, the humans who traveled across space for such work. Daniel answered honestly, never exaggerating, never trying to impress her. He described the mechanics of the stage, the programming of the holograms, the delicate balance needed to keep everything safe. She listened, fascinated, asking questions that showed she truly wanted to understand. It was strange for Daniel to realize that he felt comfortable around her, more comfortable than he had around most humans. She didn't demand attention. She didn't flaunt her fame. She treated him like a person, not a human novelty or a tool for entertainment. And in that moment, Daniel felt something he had never felt before, a spark of connection that had nothing to do with status, power, or beauty. The show began again, and this time, everything ran smoothly. Lyra performed with her usual elegance, and the audience, both live and across millions of holostreams, was captivated. But behind the scenes, she kept glancing at Daniel, offering small smiles and nods that seemed to acknowledge his presence and courage. By the end of the night, as the final curtains fell and the applause roared, she approached him again. "You did more than fix a stage," she said quietly. "You showed courage. Humans are stronger than most aliens think." Daniel felt a blush creep up his neck. "I'm just someone who knows how to fix things," he said. She shook her head, her eyes serious now. "No, you were calm when everyone else panicked. You acted without thought for fame or recognition. That is rare." He didn't know what to say. Most of the time, humans were underestimated across the galaxy. They were considered fragile, weak, and unremarkable. Yet here was Lyra, one of the most influential beings he had ever met, acknowledging him not for what he could do for her, but for who he was. Before he could respond, her communicator buzzed, signaling the need to leave for another appearance. But she turned back once more, her expression soft. "I'd like to see you again, Daniel. Not as a helper or a technician, but as a person." Daniel's mind raced. He had never expected a supermodel, let alone an alien of her fame and beauty, to show genuine interest in him. "I'd like that," he said, finding his voice. She smiled, a gesture that made the chaos of the night fade into insignificance. "Good. I'll find a way to see you again." She disappeared into the crowd of staff and fans. Daniel realized his life had changed. A human, often overlooked in the grand theater of the galaxy, had caught the attention of someone extraordinary. And this wasn't the kind of attention that came with power or wealthy, was the kind that recognized value where others ignored it. Back in his small quarters, Daniel replayed the night in his mind. Every detail from the collapse of the stage to Lyra's calm presence seemed unreal. He wasn't sure what this connection would lead to, but he knew one thing: his life was no longer just routine. It was opening into a world he had never imagined, filled with possibilities, challenges, and perhaps even something more, something beyond friendship, beyond admiration. Something neither of them could yet name, as sleep finally claimed him. Daniel dreamed of stars, laughter, and silver-haired eyes that seemed to see right through him. And in those dreams, he felt a spark of hope a human could matter in a galaxy that often underestimated them. He didn't yet know how big this would grow, but he was ready to face whatever came next. And for Lyra, the night had left a lasting impression too. She had met someone unafraid, someone grounded, someone unlike any alien she had known. His courage, calm, and authenticity lingered in her mind even as she prepared for her next public appearance. In a world of staged smiles and rehearsed movements, Daniel had been real, and she wanted more. Daniel woke the next morning with a strange mix of excitement and nervousness. The previous night's events still played vividly in his mind: the collapse of the stage, the chaos, and most importantly, Lyra's silver eyes and warm smile. For a human, getting noticed by a galactic celebrity was rare, but being noticed for who he was, not what he could do for her, was extraordinary. He went about his morning routine slowly, repairing his small workspace, checking his tools, and double-checking equipment for upcoming shows. But his thoughts kept drifting back to her. It wasn't long before Lyra returned. She appeared in the maintenance corridors unexpectedly, gliding toward him with that same calm elegance. Daniel's heart skipped a beat. Unlike the crowded chaos of the stage, here it was quiet. She didn't have cameras, fans, or bodyguards flanking her. Just Lyra, standing before him, curious and unguarded. "Good morning," she said lightly, her eyes sparkling. "I was hoping to find you." Daniel swallowed, feeling awkward. Morning. I didn't expect to see you so soon." She tilted her head, smiling. "I wanted to understand more about you, Daniel. Last night, you were different. Most humans I meet are cautious, timid, or trying to impress. Weren't? I want to know why." He hesitated, unsure how to answer. He had lived most of his life in the background, unnoticed and underestimated. And now, someone famous and admired across the galaxy wanted to know about him. "I guess I just try to do my work well. I don't think about fame. I think about solving the problem in front of me." Her expression softened. That's rare. Many beings focus on appearances, reputation, or advantage. You focus on reality. It's refreshing. Daniel laughed nervously. I don't think it's anything special. It's just how I am. Lyra's eyes studied him as if she were reading something deeper than words. Maybe that's why I noticed you. You're authentic. The word hung in the air, and Daniel felt a warmth spreading in his chest. No one had ever described him that way. Not in the harsh galaxy that often saw humans as fragile or insignificant. He wanted to ask her more about herself. She was already moving past him, toward a maintenance terminal. I need to understand how this system works, she said, pointing at a console controlling stage lights and effects. The way humans approach technology is different. You think differently than most aliens, and I want to learn that perspective. For the next hour, Daniel guided her through the technical setup. She watched intently as he explained circuits, stabilizers, and holographic projectors. Her questions were insightful, not just superficial. She asked why certain patterns were chosen, why energy flow had to be balanced in a particular way, and why some failures occurred more often than others. Daniel was impressed by her curiosity. She wasn't just asking to impress him. She genuinely wanted to understand as they worked. Their conversation shifted naturally from technology to personal experiences. Lyra told stories of traveling across planets, attending galas, and performing in front of millions. Daniel shared memories of his life on Earth and his journey to working in the interstellar fashion hub. Despite their differences, they found common ground in humor, curiosity. Simple human and alien desires peace, understanding, and connection. Time passed quickly. They laughed over misunderstandings, like the time Daniel mistook an anti-gravity skirt for a malfunctioning platform. Lyra had to explain that it was a design choice, part of a cultural statement on her home planet. He couldn't stop laughing, and she joined in, her melodious voice filling the corridor. Eventually, the moment of quiet was broken by a loud announcement. Another fashion show was scheduled, and Lyra's appearance was required on the main stage. She sighed, clearly reluctant. I have to perform, but I'll come find you after, she promised. I want to continue this conversation. Daniel nodded, still recovering from the surreal feeling of spending time alone with someone so extraordinary. I'll be here, he said. The show went on, dazzling and brilliant, but Daniel could barely focus. His mind kept wandering back to her, to the way she laughed, to the thoughtful questions she asked. He felt something unfamiliar, a stirring of hope and excitement he hadn't experienced in years. After the show, as promised, Lyra found him again. She looked tired, but happy. I wanted to see if you were still here, she said softly. I feel comfortable around you, Daniel. That doesn't happen often. Daniel's chest tightened. I feel the same, he admitted. You're different from everyone else I've met. I don't know why, but being around you feels easy. Her eyes softened and she stepped closer, a small smile playing on her lips. I like that, she said. I want to know more about humans, about you, about the way you think and feel. Will you let me? He nodded without hesitation. Yes, I'll show you as much as I can. Over the next few days, their bond grew stronger. Lyra would sneak away from her handlers to meet Daniel in quiet maintenance corridors or hidden lounges. They shared meals of simple human food that Daniel brought, tasting things she had never tried before. She laughed at his attempts to teach her slang and expressions from Earth. He laughed at her attempts to imitate human customs. Through these interactions, Lyra revealed a side of herself no one ever saw. She confided her fears, her loneliness, and her desire for genuine connection. She told Daniel that fame often felt like a cage, with expectations weighing heavier than applause. Daniel listened, never judging, never trying to offer empty comfort. He simply acknowledged her feelings, making her feel understood in a way no one else could. Daniel, in turn, began to see the galaxy differently. Through her eyes, he understood how alien societies valued image over substance, wealth over courage, and fame over authenticity. And yet in her, he saw a glimmer of hope that even in a world obsessed with appearances, true character could shine through. Their closeness did not go unnoticed. Whispers began circulating among backstage staff. Aliens commented quietly, wondering why the famous Lyra spent so much time with a human. Some were amused, some skeptical, and some openly disbelieving. But Daniel remained unfazed. He focused on his work and the genuine friendship he was forming, ignoring gossip and judgment one evening. After a particularly long rehearsal, Lyra leaned against a railing, watching the stars beyond the station windows. Daniel joined her, silently enjoying the view. "Do you ever feel like you don't belong?" she asked quietly. He looked at her, surprised by the vulnerability in her voice. "Sometimes. Humans aren't always taken seriously in the galaxy. And you're extraordinary. I never imagined someone like you would want to spend time with someone like me." She smiled faintly. "Extraordinary doesn't mean happy. I see things differently now because of you. You make me feel normal in a way I never thought I could." Daniel felt a warmth in his chest. "I'm glad," he said simply. As the station lights dimmed for the night, they stood together in quiet companionship. No words were needed. In that moment, the bond between human and alien supermodel grew stronger. Built on mutual respect, curiosity, and the rare joy of genuine connection. Unbeknownst to them, their growing friendship was beginning to attract attention beyond the backstage corridors. Holofeeds and distant communications began capturing fleeting moments of them together. While initially unnoticed by the public, the seeds of a story that would soon sweep across the galaxy were already planted. Daniel couldn't have predicted the whirlwind that awaited him. All he knew was that every moment spent with Lyra felt important, meaningful, and alive. And Lyra, for the first time in her life, felt something she had rarely known: trust, ease, and the excitement of discovering a bond that transcended fame, species, and expectation. As they parted that night, Lyra's hand brushed against his briefly. Neither pulled away. A silent understanding passed between them. This was the start of something bigger than either of them could yet comprehend. Daniel returned to his quarters, mind racing, heart pounding, and a sense of purpose stirring within him. He realized that he wasn't just a human in a galaxy of aliens. He was someone capable of connection, courage, and perhaps even love. And with Lyra, the possibilities felt endless. The galaxy was vast, dangerous, and filled with endless expectations. But here, in the quiet moments shared between maintenance corridors and backstage lights, a human and an alien supermodel had found something real. Something neither wealth, status, nor fame could replicate. And for both of them, that realization changed everything. The next few days were a whirlwind of excitement and tension. Daniel's quiet life of engineering and backstage work had been completely transformed. Everywhere he went, he noticed the curious glances and whispered conversations of alien staff and crew members. Rumors had begun to circulate. The galaxy's most famous supermodel, Lyra, was spending time with a human. Some were intrigued, others were scandalized, and a few were openly skeptical. For Daniel, who had spent most of his life unnoticed, this sudden attention was both strange and intimidating. Lyra, however, seemed unbothered by the whispers. If anything, she appeared even more confident in their friendship. She would appear at the station at unexpected times, often just to check on him or share a quiet meal. Her presence was magnetic, and Daniel felt drawn to her in ways he could not fully understand. He tried to focus on his work, repairing equipment, running diagnostics, and ensuring the shows went smoothly. But the thought of her lingered constantly in his mind. One afternoon, while he was calibrating a light array, he noticed Lyra approaching with a purposeful stride. Her eyes were bright, and her smile was infectious, but there was a tension in the air he could not ignore. She waved him over. "Daniel, we need to talk," she said. Her voice calm but serious. He followed her to a quieter section of the station, away from the crew and the hum of machinery. Lyra took a deep breath before speaking. "The media has started picking up on us. Photographers, holo reporters, even some of my own fans, they've noticed I spend a lot of time with you. They're talking about it already." Daniel felt a pang of worry. "Do we need to stop meeting?" I don't want to cause trouble for you. She shook her head firmly. No, I won't let them dictate my life. But we have to be careful. The galaxy is full of people who don't understand humans, and some will use this against you. Against us. Daniel nodded slowly. He had expected challenges, but hearing it directly from Lyra made the situation feel more real. I understand. I'll be careful. I want to be with you, even if it's just for a little while in secret. Lyra smiled, the tension in her face softening. That's all I want too. Despite their precautions, the rumors continued to spread. Alien society was unforgiving when it came to breaches of status and expectation. Lyra's public appearances were analyzed frame by frame, and her interactions with Daniel were scrutinized. Some commentators mocked her choice, claiming that a human was beneath her, unworthy of her time or affection. Others expressed surprise and fascination, intrigued by the idea that a human could capture the attention of someone so influential. One morning, Daniel arrived at the station to find a small group of aliens waiting near the maintenance entrance. They were part of the hub's senior staff, their expressions stern. One of them, a tall alien with iridescent skin, stepped forward. Daniel, we need to speak with you, he said. Your presence with Lyra has become problematic. There are concerns about your role here and the image you project.
Oh, my alley.
Daniel felt a chill run down his spine. He had never been confronted like this before. I'm just doing my job, he said, trying to stay calm. I haven't done anything wrong. The alien's eyes narrowed. It's not your work that is questioned, human. It's your association with Lyra. Some say it damages her reputation. Others question her judgment. We cannot ignore this. Daniel felt anger rise, but he suppressed it. Lyra is free to spend time with whoever she wants. I haven't forced her, manipulated her, or interfered with her duties. I'm just myself, the senior staff member sighed, clearly frustrated. We understand your perspective, but the galaxy has rules unwritten as they may be. The optics of this situation are delicate. You may need to step back for a while. Before Daniel could respond, Lyra appeared, moving swiftly toward the group. Her presence commanded immediate attention. This conversation is over, she said firmly, her voice carrying a quiet authority that silenced the room. Daniel has done nothing wrong. He is my friend. He is my choice. If anyone here has a problem with that, you will speak to me directly. The staff members exchanged uneasy glances. Lyra's confidence and authority were undeniable. Daniel watched, astonished, as she defended him without hesitation. She wasn't just brave, she was fearless. After the group dispersed, Lyra turned to him. Are you okay? She asked, concern in her eyes. I am now, he said, feeling a mix of relief and admiration. I didn't expect you to do that. To defend me so openly, she smiled softly. Because you deserve it. Most humans are underestimated, dismissed or ignored. You aren't, and I won't let anyone diminish that. That evening, as the stars gleamed beyond the station's viewports, they sat together in one of the quieter lounges. Lyra leaned back, relaxed in a way that seemed impossible in her usual public life. Daniel, I need you to understand something, she said. The galaxy will judge us. They will question why I spend time with a human. But I don't care. I choose to be with you. Not for show, not for attention. For me, Daniel's chest tightened. I don't know what to say. I'm honored, Lyra. I never imagined someone like you would choose me. She reached out, placing her hand lightly on his. It's not about fame or status. It's about who you are. Your courage, your honesty, your kindness. These things matter to me more than anything else in the galaxy. As the days passed, their bond continued to grow. They shared quiet moments between rehearsals, whispered conversations during lunch breaks, and simple walks along the station's observation decks. Daniel showed Lyra the intricate systems behind the stage designs. Explaining the delicate balance required to maintain safety and spectacle, she listened intently, fascinated by the human perspective on engineering and logic. Lyra, in turn, shared stories of her life as a supermodel, the pressure, the constant scrutiny, and the loneliness that fame often brought. Daniel listened without judgment, offering comfort in small ways that were surprisingly powerful. He didn't offer advice unless asked, but his presence alone seemed to soothe her. She realized that humans, often dismissed as fragile, could possess a strength and patience that aliens rarely understood. However, not everyone was happy about their growing friendship. Some members of the station crew began to treat Daniel with suspicion or subtle hostility. Rumors circulated that he was trying to manipulate Lyra or take advantage of her influence. Alien nobles mocked him behind his back, claiming that no human could be worthy of someone like her. Daniel felt the sting of their words but refused to let it affect him. Lyra's support was unwavering, and that gave him courage. "Let them talk," she told him one evening. "They don't matter. What matters is us, our trust, and our connection." Despite the challenges, there were moments of joy and levity. One night, they stayed late in the observation deck, watching distant planets drift past the station. Daniel shared stories of Earth's oceans, mountains, and cities. Lyra listened, amazed at the richness of his world. She told him about the planets she had visited, the cultures she had seen, and the extravagant ceremonies she had attended. Yet in each story it was clear that neither of them envied the other's life. They simply enjoyed sharing it, learning from it, and understanding one another. As their relationship deepened, Daniel began to realize something profound. Lyra's fame and beauty were extraordinary, yes, but it was her strength, intelligence, authenticity that captivated him. She had chosen to see him as a person, not as a human novelty or a tool for entertainment. And in doing so, she had awakened a part of him he hadn't known existed, the courage to be seen, to be valued, and to care deeply. One evening, as they walked through a quiet corridor lined with soft ambient lights, Lyra stopped and turned to him. "Daniel," she said softly, "I want you to know that I trust you completely. I have never felt this way before. You are important to me." Daniel's heart pounded. "Lyra, I feel the same. More than I ever thought I could feel about anyone, alien or human." She smiled, a genuine radiant smile that seemed to light the corridor. "Then let us face whatever comes together. Whatever the galaxy thinks, whatever the rumors say, we face it as a team." In that moment, Daniel felt an overwhelming sense of belonging. For the first time in his life, he was not invisible. He was not underestimated. He was chosen by someone extraordinary, someone brave, someone who saw him for who he truly was. And though challenges still lay ahead, he knew they could face them together. For in a galaxy filled with judgment, prejudice, and expectation, they had found something rare and powerful: mutual respect, trust, and a bond that transcended species, fame. In societal norms, little did Daniel know, the challenges were only beginning. The galaxy had a way of testing those who dared to defy expectations, and their friendship, as strong as it was, would soon face trials that would challenge everything they had built. But for now, they walked side by side, two beings from different worlds, united by choice, courage, and the quiet strength of connection. The weeks following the crisis had brought Daniel and Lyra even closer. Despite the rumors and judgment from some in the galaxy, they had found a rhythm together. Their friendship, now deepened by trust and mutual understanding, had grown into something that neither of them could ignore. Every glance, every shared smile, carried an unspoken bond, stronger than fame or status could ever match. One afternoon, Daniel was finishing maintenance on a set of holographic projectors when Lyra appeared at the entrance of the equipment room. Her usual grace was present, but her expression was different, bright, urgent, and trembling slightly with excitement. She walked quickly toward him, waving him aside from the work he was focused on. "Daniel, you need to see me now," she said, her voice bubbling with a joy he had never heard before. He wiped his hands and followed her. Curiosity mingled with concern. "Is everything okay?" he asked. Lyra paused, taking a deep breath, then looked directly into his eyes. "Everything is more than okay. Daniel, you made me pregnant?" For a moment, Daniel's mind froze. The words seemed surreal, impossible. He blinked, trying to process them, but the joy in her eyes was unmistakable. This wasn't a crisis or a threat. It was a revelation, a celebration, and a declaration of something profound. You're serious? He asked cautiously, still trying to ground himself in reality. She laughed, the sound sparkling and uncontainable. Of course I'm serious. I've never been happier. This is how life chooses sometimes. Only someone whose heart truly matches mine could create this miracle. Daniel stepped back, a mixture of awe and fear coursing through him. He had faced dangerous machines, chaotic stages, and skeptical alien authorities. But this was different. This was personal, intimate, and life-changing in ways he had never imagined. How is this possible? He asked, still in shock. Humans and aliens. We're so different. Lyra's smile softened. It doesn't happen often. That's why it's considered a miracle in my society. Most aliens could never do this with a human. It requires a connection. Something beyond biology, beyond logic. You and I, we have that connection. Daniel's mind raced. The thought of responsibility, of becoming a parent to a life that was part human and part alien, was overwhelming. Yet as he looked into Lyra's radiant eyes, fear began to mingle with a sense of honor and wonder. I don't know what to say, he admitted, his voice trembling slightly. Say nothing for now, she said, stepping closer and taking his hands. Just feel it. Feel this joy. Feel the miracle we created together. This is a gift, Daniel, not a burden. He took a deep breath, letting the weight of her words sink in. Slowly, a sense of clarity began to emerge. This was no longer about rumors, judgment, or societal expectations. It was about life, about trust, about a bond so rare and profound that it transcended species. And he realized with a mix of pride and awe that he had a role to play in this miracle over the next few days. Daniel and Lyra adjusted to the reality of what had happened. Lyra, always radiant and composed, now carried a visible glow of happiness. She shared stories of her species' pregnancy rituals, of the ways their culture celebrated life and parenthood, and of the joy that came from bringing a new being into the galaxy. Daniel listened, fascinated, learning about her people's biology, traditions, and values. He also began to understand the responsibility that came with this miracle. He had to protect Lyra, support her, and prepare for the life that was growing because of their bond. It was daunting, but he felt a deep sense of purpose that he had never known before. For once, his skills, courage, and empathy mattered not only to one person but to a new life that would carry both human and alien legacies. Despite the joy, there were challenges. Lyra's fame meant that their private lives could not remain entirely hidden. News of the pregnancy began to leak, first as subtle rumors and then as confirmed reports in interstellar tabloids. Some media outlets framed it as a scandal, claiming that a human was unworthy of her attention and influence. Others hailed it as a symbol of unity between species, a miracle that demonstrated the possibilities of genuine connection across worlds. Lyra faced the media with grace and confidence. She always did. But now, she also had Daniel by her side, not hidden, not behind screens, but openly supporting her. Together, they showed the galaxy that their bond was real, that it was built on trust, respect, and love. Their presence together became a symbol of hope, of unity, and of the extraordinary power of human connection. Daniel found himself adapting quickly. He attended meetings, sometimes with Lyra, sometimes alone, representing their shared responsibility in the upcoming months. He learned to navigate alien bureaucracies, manage public attention, support Lyra's career while prioritizing her well-being. It was challenging, but he felt a sense of growth he had never experienced before. He was no longer just a human engineer. He was a partner, a protector, and soon, a parent. Lyra, for her part, thrived in this new chapter. The pregnancy brought a new depth to her life, a focus beyond fame and performance. She shared quiet moments with Daniel, laughing at small human customs, exploring the station, and dreaming about the future of their child. She spoke of the life growing inside her with wonder, curiosity, and uncontainable joy. One evening, they stood together on an observation deck, watching distant stars drift past. The station's lights reflected off Lyra's glowing skin, making her seem ethereal. Daniel reached for her hand, feeling the warmth, the connection, and the promise of new life. This is incredible," he said softly. "I never imagined something like this could happen to me." To us, Lyra smiled, her eyes shining with happiness. "It is incredible. But more than that, it is real. You and I, Daniel, we made this life together. And it's a gift that will change everything, not just for us, but for the galaxy too." He nodded, feeling a sense of pride and awe. "I'll do everything I can to protect you, to support you, and to be the best partner I can be. I'll do the same for you," she said. "We face this together, always." In the days that followed, their life settled into a rhythm of shared responsibility and quiet joy. They continued to work, to perform, and to engage with the galaxy, but now with a deeper purpose. Every challenge, every judgment, every obstacle was met with unity and determination. They had a bond that could not be broken, a miracle that was as much about their connection as it was about the life they were bringing into the universe. Daniel marveled at the changes within himself. He had grown stronger, more confident, and more capable than he had ever imagined. He realized that humans, often underestimated, possessed qualities that could stand beside the greatest beings in the galaxy: courage, empathy, and the ability to form genuine bonds. Lyra's choice had affirmed this truth, and together, they were rewriting the expectations of both humans and aliens alike. Lyra, glowing with happiness, often whispered to him late at night, "You are remarkable, Daniel. Not because of what you've done, but because of who you are. You are human, and yet you are extraordinary," he would smile, feeling a warmth that went beyond pride or joy. "You're extraordinary too, Lyra, not just because of who you are to the galaxy, but because of who you are with me." As the days turned into weeks, the news of their pregnancy spread further across the stars. Some aliens were skeptical, some jealous, and some openly critical, but many celebrated. Messages of congratulations, awe, and hope poured in from across worlds. Daniel and Lyra, once ordinary engineer and superstar model, become symbols of unity, trust, and the power of genuine connection. Yet, even with the joy and celebration, they remained grounded. They knew the challenges ahead would test their courage, patience, and love. But for the first time in their lives, they faced the future together, ready to embrace every moment, every joy, and every responsibility. One evening, as they walked hand in hand through the observation deck, Daniel looked at Lyra with deep admiration. "I never imagined life could be like this," he said softly. Lyra squeezed his hand. "Neither did I, but now that it is, I wouldn't change a thing. We've created something beautiful together, Daniel, and this is just the beginning." The stars stretched endlessly before them, a vast galaxy full of possibilities, challenges, and wonders. And together, Daniel and Lyra knew they could face it all. The miracle of life, the bond they shared, and the love they had found would guide them through whatever the universe could throw their way. For Daniel, it was more than a surprise or a miracle. It was proof. Humans, often underestimated, could stand shoulder to shoulder with the greatest beings in the galaxy. They could inspire, protect, and create wonders beyond imagination. And in Lyra's eyes, Daniel saw the truth of it, that courage, honesty, and love were the greatest powers in the universe. And so, hand in hand, heart to heart, they stepped forward into the unknown, ready to embrace a future that was theirs alone. A future filled with joy, wonder, and the promise of new life. The days following Lyra's revelation of her pregnancy brought a sense of purpose and calm. Determination to Daniel that he had never known. He had faced many challenges in his life, from complex machinery to skeptical colleagues. But nothing compared to the responsibility of being a partner to Lyra and a future parent. Every morning, he woke with a sense of resolve to protect, to support, and to prepare for the new life that would soon join the galaxy. Lyra, meanwhile, embraced the change with her usual grace. though now tempered with the wisdom and patience that came with knowing she carried a child. Her radiant presence had taken on a softer, more grounded aura, and even her fans noticed the subtle shift in her demeanor. She no longer appeared solely as a glamorous supermodel to be admired from afar. She was a symbol of life, love, and unity across species. And wherever she went, Daniel was by her side not just as a human companion, but as an equal, a partner in every sense. Their routine settled into a gentle rhythm. Daniel continued his work on the station's systems, ensuring that every show ran safely and smoothly. He introduced Lyra to aspects of engineering she had never considered, and together they brainstormed ways to integrate human creativity into alien technology. Lyra, in turn, shared insights from her travels, exposing Daniel to the diverse cultures, histories, and philosophies of the galaxy. Their conversations were never shallow. They challenged one another, laughed together, marveled at the universe around them. One evening, as they walked through a quiet observation corridor, Lyra paused, resting her hands on her growing belly. Daniel noticed her gaze fixed on a distant star cluster, the light reflecting in her silver eyes. "Do you ever think about what kind of life our child will have?" she asked softly. Daniel nodded, feeling a sense of awe. "I think about it every day. About how they'll grow, what they'll learn, and how we'll guide them. I want them to know both our worlds, our cultures, and the best of what humanity and your people have to offer." Lyra smiled, the warmth in her expression filling the corridor. "I want the same. They'll carry both of us, Daniel, the courage of humans and the brilliance of our species. They'll be unique, and I hope they'll always feel loved, protected, and inspired." Daniel took her hand, squeezing it gently. "They will, and we'll be there for them, every step of the way." Their bond, now strengthened by the miracle of new life, faced its ultimate test when a delegation of alien dignitaries arrived at the station. They came to discuss interstellar diplomacy, but their presence brought scrutiny and subtle tension. Rumors about Lyra's pregnancy had reached even the highest levels. And while some were fascinated, others were skeptical or critical. The dignitaries, towering and imposing, questioned Daniel directly during one meeting. "Human, are you certain you are capable of supporting Lyra and the child she carries?" one asked, his voice echoing through the chamber. Daniel met their gaze calmly. "I am certain. I may be human, but I understand responsibility, respect, and partnership. Lyra chose me for a reason, and I intend to honor that choice. I will protect her, our child, and ensure their well-being, no matter the challenges." There was a pause, the weight of his words settling over the assembly. Lyra stepped forward, her hand brushing his. "He is capable," she said firmly. "I trust him completely. Your doubts are irrelevant. This is not about politics or status. It's about trust, love, and shared responsibility. He has earned this just as much as I have chosen him." The dignitaries accustomed to navigating power and influence recognized the sincerity and authority in her words. Slowly, some nodded in acknowledgement, while others remained silent. But one thing was clear: the human beside her was not ordinary, and the bond between them was undeniable. Life continued, and the news of their relationship and impending parenthood spread across the galaxy. Instead of scandal, a wave of admiration began to grow. Humans, often underestimated, were now seen in a new light. Daniel's courage, honesty, and dedication inspired countless others. Lyra's choice to embrace this connection challenged long-held prejudices and demonstrated that trust and love could bridge any divide. In quieter moments, Daniel and Lyra prepared for their child in practical ways. They designed the nursery together, blending alien technology with human comforts. Daniel ensured that the room was safe and functional, while Lyra decorated it with colors and symbols that represented both their worlds. They laughed over small disagreements like whether a gravity-adjustable cradle should have holographic decorations, and celebrated the joy of creating a space for their child. One evening, as they worked together assembling the final components of the nursery, Lyra looked at Daniel with tears in her eyes. Daniel, I can't imagine doing this without you. You've made me feel stronger, safer, and more alive than I ever thought possible. He took her hands in his. Lyra, it's because of you that I've grown. You've shown me what it means to trust, to hope, and to love without limits. We're in this together, always. Months passed, and the pregnancy progressed smoothly. The child grew strong and healthy, a living testament to their extraordinary bond. Daniel marveled at every development, reading alien texts and human guides to understand the changes. Lyra, radiant as ever, shared her experiences openly, laughing at small discomforts and marveling at the new sensations of carrying life. Finally, the day came when the child was ready to enter the galaxy. Daniel and Lyra stood together in the delivery chamber, surrounded by advanced medical technology designed for both human and alien physiology. The atmosphere was calm, filled with anticipation and quiet awe. Through the process, Daniel remained by Lyra's side, holding her hand, offering comfort, and sharing in the miracle of birth. When the moment arrived, their child entered the universe a perfect blend of human courage and alien brilliance. The room filled with the soft glow of new life, and both parents gazed at their child with tears of joy. Lyra held the baby carefully, marveling at the tiny features and the subtle signs of both their species. "We did this," she whispered, her voice trembling with emotion. "We created life together." Daniel's heart swelled. "Yes, we did. And we'll protect them, teach them, and love them every day of our lives." As the days turned into weeks, the galaxy began to recognize the extraordinary story of Daniel, Lyra, and their child. Humans, once underestimated, were now seen as capable of courage, compassion, and partnership across species. Their child, a living symbol of unity, represented hope, understanding, and the limitless possibilities of connection. Together, Daniel and Lyra faced the future with confidence and joy. They navigated public attention, diplomatic challenges, and the ordinary struggles of parenthood with determination and love. Their bond, forged through trust, respect, and extraordinary circumstances, remained unbreakable. In private moments, they would often sit together, watching the stars drift past the observation deck. Reflecting on the journey that had brought them here, Daniel, Lyra said one evening, holding their child, "Do you ever think about how far we've come?" He nodded, smiling. "Every day, from the quiet corridors to this moment, I never imagined life could be this full, this amazing." Lyra leaned her head against his shoulder. "And to think, it all started with trust, courage, and the willingness to see beyond appearances." Daniel kissed her forehead gently. "Yes, and it will continue as long as we face it together." Their story became a legend, told across worlds, not as a tale of fame or spectacle, but as a testament to the strength of human spirit, the power of genuine connection, and the extraordinary potential that arises when beings choose to trust, love, and stand together. The galaxy watched as the human and the alien supermodel embraced parenthood, love, and partnership. Daniel proved that humans, often underestimated, could achieve greatness in the most unexpected ways. Lyra showed that even the most admired beings could find joy in trust and authenticity. And their child, the living bond of two worlds, became a symbol of hope for generations to come in the quiet moments, away from the media, the politics, and the endless expectations. Daniel and Lyra knew the truth. It was not fame, power, or even miraculous circumstances that defined their story. It was the courage to be themselves, the willingness to trust, and the decision to face life's challenges together. Hand in hand, heart to heart, they looked toward the stars, ready for whatever the future held. For in a galaxy full of possibilities, they had discovered something rare, profound, and everlasting, the extraordinary power of human spirit, love, and connection. And in that moment, Daniel realized that he had never been more alive.